use the Force, Luke.
Sometimes truth isn't good enough.
I feel the need for speed.
Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes!
Because it's their time. Their time. Up there. Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's Wednesday, and that means it's FrostCast. We're hitting episode 32 because I'm on top of numbering everything properly this week. The streak is extended to 2 weeks in a row. We're going to bring in King Z. We've suspended our normal format of news reporting and topics for the evening because there's a show too big out there that we need to get to, and we just couldn't do it last night on like a live review. Of course, I'm talking about Daredevil Born Again. King Z, I apologize in advance. Like I said before, I'm a little under the weather, so everything's going to be a little darker than normal. I might have to actually shut my trap and let you drive a little bit more too tonight, but we'll see, because I got a couple things to say about Born Again. I got the notey notes right there.
The good old notes.
I got the notey notes, you know. Most of them are good though. I think like all of them are pretty good. Not that I want to like bury the lead on it, but I know that this show has been something of a long time coming for you, you know, since we found out that they were going back to the drawing board. Up front, we heard some really concerning stuff in the way of how story progression was working. And then we got kind of a life raft thrown to us, or a life preserver. You know, they threw it off the side of the boat or something. You know, and they said, we're throwing out 9 episodes of crap. Our main actors aren't into what they had planned, and they did some strong advocacy for going back to the drawing board. And I think it's going to pay off. Not that I want to get too far ahead of talking about the show, but what do you think of that statement, just to get the ball rolling?
No, I definitely believe it. I mean, Netflix Daredevil is probably one of the most beloved Marvel TV shows of all time. It's critically acclaimed. Fans love it. It was just one of those catching lightning in the bottle type thing. When it came out around the perfect time, because it was Marvel was on the way up. The MCU was just getting rolling, and they signed the deal with Netflix to let them have some street level characters like Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Punisher, and Daredevil, all the New York based street level.
Much, it was the New York stuff.
Yeah, it was all different. Like Luke Cage is like Harlem, and then Hell's Kitchen, of course, with Daredevil.
Yeah.
So it worked out quite well. And so when they were bringing it back, at first you're just, you're kind of scared when you have something that's so beloved.
I know.
You're kind of scared when they kind of reboot it. Like that's with anything. I mean, how many Star Trek fans were really nervous when the Next Generation came out? Like, what are they going to do to my Star Trek?
All of them.
And it was the same thing with the Daredevil here. It was like, what are they going to do to the Daredevil show that we all love? But I am glad that they brought back the original cast. I mean, Charlie Cox, Vince D'Onofrio. They brought back Deborah Ann Wool as Karen Page, and they brought back Eldon Henderson as Foggy.
And Vincent D'Onofrio, of course, like you were saying, is Kingpin. I wanted to ask, because maybe off the top of your head, I didn't fact check this, and we regret to inform everybody the Oracle is not with us tonight. She is feeling more under the weather than the Wolf, so she is taking the night off. So we can't fact check behind the scenes. When Daredevil came out on Netflix, how long had they been on like the streaming game? Like they were the only game in town streaming wise for years. But I don't recall how far into their conversion from the disc delivery and the kiosk delivery system did Netflix's Daredevil appear? Were they already a good number of years into that? So it's kind of like a flagship program.
If I remember, this is right around the beginning that they were doing their own original content.
Okay.
Like they had the streaming for a while. Like they had the movies and the TV shows that they contracted out from PBS and NBC and overseas. But I think
this was an original.
Yeah, this has started the beginning of their original content that they were putting out.
True.
Right around that when they took that $10 billion loan out.
Which I ripped on to no end even before I had a channel, and was like, that seems pretty ballsy, guys, but all right, you do you. And here we are. They've definitively won the streaming wars by any metric. Like, they've nailed in the coffin a lot of the smaller players, and a lot of the bigger players like Paramount and D Plus are holding on like grim death, circling the drain, not posting gains.
Yeah,
nothing.
Even though as the streaming leader, though, Netflix was late to the game with live events. They're now just getting into live events, where the other ones already picked up the live events. Like Prime has the NFL, Peacock has some NFL, college football, Apple TV has baseball. So,
but all that stuff's fluid. Those contracts don't last forever. Those are usually written for like 5 years or 8 years or whatever it is. So a power move at any given minute can definitely change that game. We've already seen Netflix bring in some of your favorite programming. Isn't all the WWE stuff on the Flix
They
now?
did. They signed a 10-year, $10 billion contract, something like that.
And that includes UFC, right? Because that company merged the Titan Sports or whatever it was, right? Yeah.
TKO, yeah.
TKO. That's what it became.
TKO is the new company that owns both the UFC and WWE.
Yeah, so they got cash to burn, and I think they're putting it to good use. One of the things I wanted to, before we get into like the details of the show and the episodes, just to kind of remind people, about where Matt Murdock left off. So, we kind of did a recap in another video earlier in the week talking about the 3-series run, but just to get it all off there it is, mental note. The gist of it is that this is basically season 4 of the Daredevil show, which puts it ahead of how things ended in Defenders. Whether or not that's canon or not, that remains to be seen. So it's basically a 7 years later kind of situation in the show. And then after the events of the first episode that we're about to talk about, it jumps another year. And then I believe the rest of the show takes place that 1 year later.
Yeah, so that was one of the big questions going into this is like, is the MCU going to canonize the Netflix show? Like, is it going to be canon now? And they answered that question because they brought back one of the 2 of the big bad guys from the series in this first episode. So you'll see that they pretty much said that Daredevil Netflix is canon. Now we'll see how much they incorporate the other the other ones. We also know Punisher is going to be back in this. They've already told us that, and so we know Punisher is going to be canonized in this. But how much is Luke Cage, Iron Fist, or Jessica Jones?
Did they show the Punisher in one of like the one of the cliptages, like one of the promo beats?
Yes,
of this show?
in one of the trailers.
But it was that old footage from one of their other shows, or is that something we haven't seen yet?
That's something we haven't seen yet.
Okay, so it's new. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Very cool. All right, I'm with it. Dude, so I say we just jump right into it. I don't think there's really any ways to avoid spoilers. So if you have that, if you have it ready, I would ask you to hit the, I can't even make the sound because my throat hurts, but there we go. Really no way around it, because one of the pivotal, most important changes that the show made in this iteration that we're getting versus what they had done and scrapped is, they had initially planned, you were saying last week, to kill Karen Page and Foggy Nelson off screen and just have the show pick up at a year later, 2 years later, whatever their plan was later. And they threw that shit out the window and obviously gave us the bombshell in the first 15 minutes of episode 1.
Dude, this is the way to open a show. I will not lie to you.
Yeah, dude.
Because it sets the tone right off the bat.
Dude, you saw my tweet to you yesterday. You and I never tweet back and forth. It's not our preferred mode of communication, but I had to put it out there. Like, dude, the first 15 minutes of episode 1 is far and away the best thing Marvel on the MCU show on Disney Plus has ever done. The first 15 minutes. Hands down, dude, you got mega stakes, you got character reintroductions, you get the death of a major character, and they did it all in a way. They reintroduced the one-shot hallway fight, which was another brilliant chef's kiss move to start your show. It's to get people reintegrated, drop them right back into the world that they know and love, and I thought they pulled that off like gangbusters in 15 minutes.
Yes.
I think it was 13:48, I think, when I stopped the clock.
Yeah, seeing them show their initial chemistry together It was really great. You're like you said, it reintroduced the characters that we all fell in love with. It introduced some new characters like Cherry and the DA, who she has a bigger role later, where she, kind of joins Murdoch.
Yep, Cherry too, because he comes on as he's the retiring cop that turns into he goes PI for Murdoch's firm. But it was nice to see them reintroduce effective character work in such a tight space, because in that space, right, we get their firm established. We get that Matt and Karen are doing like the flirty relationship, will they, won't they thing, because, they both reference jokingly friend code. The two of them couldn't pair off and have Foggy be the third wheel. So they have real life, like, personal dynamics that are interesting and fun to watch. And we were just talking about this the other day in the other standalone Daredevil video we did, where I was saying that people were complaining that they thought that the Daredevil show was feelings in hallways. And I'm like, bro, how is this feelings in the bar? Like it actually defined folks, it defined character interactions. And then they continue this pattern for 2 episodes, no way around that. Like, oh, hey, here we go. Hey, I'm gonna call you Pape still until you tell me otherwise, brother. I'm now regretting not watching this, dude. I saw your comment the other day. I meant to respond to that. Was gonna wait, dude. I'd say jump on board, because you know what? I hate to have you leave the chat, because we probably maybe we can avoid spoilers. I think we mentioned that there was a major death early, but we just don't have to say who. That way he can still watch. Let's do that. Let's not ruin it for him unless he doesn't care. He can tell us. But we get everybody back in action after such a big drop off. And we've said this before too, and you've said this more than I have, I think. When you get professionals to write your stuff, and when you get professionals to perform in your stuff, they pick up these roles like it's old hat, because to them it is. Yeah. Like it occurs to me that the actor that plays Foggy Nelson or Karen Page or Matt Murdock or any of these people, they're like, okay, just give me the script. Okay, yeah, oh, that's right. Karen does this. This was her background. Let me just kind of shake it off, settle in a voice. Like, Vincent D'Onofrio had to like shake it off and get into the Kingpin voice, Vanessa. Like he had to actually probably prep up. Same thing with Charlie Cox as Daredevil. But when everybody's a professional, it pays dividends.
Yes, it does 100%. You can definitely see where the professionalism and the love for these characters came into this. And then I forgot who the showrunner was, but I do know that the director was the one from Moon Knight, came in, and they really tried their hardest to capture the look, feel, and aesthetic of the original Netflix series that everybody loves. So they were trying to still pay homage to that, which I think they did fantastic with.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a little bit more. More power to that showrunner, that director, whomever. I did not like Moon Knight. I'm on the record as that. That's one of the earliest shows that I reviewed on the channel here. That was a goof, like start to finish. There was nothing compelling about that show at all to me. Daredevil, in both of these teams' hands so far, has a very gritty look, a very noir look. I have notes all up and down my page about like some of the scoring, some of the sound cues, the sound design, feeling like you're in an old kind of detective story at different places. It almost felt like the Batman in a couple of places with some of the musical cues, especially when the violent stuff was popping off in the aftermath of violence to set mood and tension. Yep. There's a bunch, and you're a behind the camera guy. Like, what do you have to say? This is your jam. You take it.
Well, what they did is they had a new composer for this, but he did his version of the music from Netflix. Like, it is the same.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why it sounded familiar. It was,
nice.
He paid homage to it. Like, they're not trying to, like, a lot of times with these shows, they try to redo it. Like, oh, I could do it better. I can do this better. But no, they sat there and they took what was great about it and added to it. Right. Which I think was the right move to do because of such a fanfare this show has. The aesthetic, the look, the feel. Of course, the one shot was done pretty smoothly.
Awesome.
That was smoothly. Now, I'm not sure that they actually did it as a one shot. I'm pretty sure there was some cuts in there. The style that they did it is they picked it up, and that's where you have a very good cinematographer and director to know exactly where to pick right back up with. And the person who doesn't get a lot of credit in this is the script supervisor. They're telling you exactly where it is. They're taking screenshots while they're filming to let you know exactly, like. So there was a movie I was working on, and they couldn't remember which side like when they shot the scene up close, they forgot which side of the truck he jumped up on. So the script supervisor can go back because he took pictures, he took notes, and you tell him, hey, he jumped out of the left side with his right hand down. So that way you have that continuity. When you have a bad script supervisor, you have issues like you do in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where Brad Pitt's cigarette kept changing sizes during it. So
it was between different fingers. One time it was a cigar.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that sequence was good. I would say it favorably reminded me of the one from the first season, because I like watching people fight that aren't necessarily superheroes. Like, I like watching them get exhausted, but then finding these little micro bursts of energy where then like Bullseye can throw another couple of things, and Matt can deflect a couple of things and then do a jumping spin kick and then, collapse against the wall because he's exhausted. And all the while, he's got throwing knives poking out of his armor that, they're in his body. The couple, we're going to see Nurse Claire any minute. I'm surprised we didn't get her yet.
Yeah, I don't know if they're bringing her in yet. Like they haven't hinted at other people from the Netflix series that they're bringing in.
Dude, the end of that bullseye fight in episode 1, though, when Matt's up on the roof, he's got like 6 or 7 things poking out of him.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't see how we ended there without having Claire, but I did like the look of that, especially because it started on it started in a bar, went up a staircase through multiple levels, ended up on the roof, ended up on like the air conditioning unit on the roof. So I mean, there was all kinds of like elevation changes that just made it fun to watch. And I love that because, again, it cements you right away that the look, the feel, the tone, it's all very intentional, and it's all meant to bring you back to something you already enjoyed without necessarily candy coating a bunch of nostalgia and being like, remember Foggy? Remember Carrot? It wasn't that. It was like, oh, I know these guys. Cool.
Yep.
It was like a reunion show for us for 15 minutes.
And that was one of the things we noticed too, is like, you can't go into this not knowing. Like, they didn't introduce people. Not that kind of show. They shot the beginning as if you knew these characters and what was going on.
So, which again, I think we started the discussion by saying it makes I'm more grateful now that if the story's true and then it was Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio that said, hey, this kind of bites. Like, can we rethink this? Because they weren't going to have Foggy and Karen at least around in the beginning. Like, maybe they understood that they've been like, hey, I haven't collected a paycheck on this role in like 7 years. Like, if I don't remember who all the NPCs were, like, there's no shot Johnny Q Public is going to remember who all the NPCs are. So maybe we get them back and integrate them into the story on camera. And I think it paid off because it created instant stakes that aren't wasted, because then it propels how many episodes are we getting here? 8, 10, whatever it is?
8 episodes.
Dude, that hurts me in my soul that there's only going to be...
I was going to save this for the end, but it's already been approved for a season 2 of 8 more episodes.
I saw that. It still hurts my soul that it's only getting that. Like that's not enough for me, because I'd be remiss if I didn't point out both of these episodes are about an hour long, give or take. And again, I don't know why they just don't get it over there at the House of Mouse studio. Like, you dickheads need to plan these shows to that length and then execute on those premises. You just have to. These shows don't work when you treat them like... Dude, could you imagine if this show was a 27-minute live action cartoon like Skeleton Crew? We'd be having a very different show. The Wolf's Notes would be very different if it was that. And we like Skeleton Crew. That was just the most recent one I could think of. But I mean, imagine if it was 27 minutes in Ahsoka. You'd be loading them up right now and just be like, okay, I'm done here. Like, that's it. Channel's over. You just we can't have it. But luckily, I think this show, I don't see how it can go off the rails with the people that are there working on it, the people that were there in it, guiding it going forward. Like, I don't think they'd have allowed 4 more episodes to be good and then be like, okay, we're going to flood 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're in a good spot.
No, they're in a fantastic spot, and the first 2 episodes really set the tone for what we should expect.
Yeah, for sure. Why don't we talk about the episodes themselves? We're not really do like a breakdown, because I just have like a couple of like heavy points that I wanted to hit on. But I mean, it's a pretty straightforward story. It's adapting elements of the comics that you brought me up to speed on. It's the arc where Kingpin's reformed and wants to run for mayor. He accomplishes that goal at the end of episode 1. I think I don't even think we wait until episode 2. I think he's already.
It's
already
announced at the end of episode 1.
Right. So that's kind of his goal. Matt's a year removed from the death of a very close friend and is working at a new practice now. And
he just changed the practice.
Well,
it was always his practice.
But one of them left, one of them didn't live, and he brought in a new partner. That's what I'm saying. It's a different work situation for him. And then, of course, he takes special note that Fisk is trying to become mayor. And I thought one of the coolest bits of getting to know these characters again, getting into the story, is watching him walk the streets of New York and hearing the different chatter from different people. Oh, Fisk is going to clean the city up, dude. Fuck that guy. He's the kingpin. And you just get all these little bits and pieces.
Where are you going to move, Boston?
You hate the seas. I thought that was funny. That's what I'm saying. Like, but it was cool to get that. So they seem like it's a simple superhero story. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think this is going to be. You can be not overly complicated and still be complex and nuanced. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very true, very true. But I think one of the best scenes is this one right here.
Oh, dude, definitely. That was the end of episode 1, right?
Yeah,
close to the end.
Yeah, close to the end of episode 1, where they have their little confrontation, but a very, I would say, peaceful one. But it lays down some ultimatums. Yeah,
dude, it was a loaded chat that ended with Daredevil basically telling him, if you stray, if you come out of your lane, I'll be back. And Fisk is just like, which one? Like, which one of you is coming back? Because the whole dude, this whole show, and this was like the crux of my notes here. The whole show is about two guys trying to not be on face value who they used to be, right?
Yeah.
Murdoch's semi-committed to not being Daredevil, but he can still throw an ass kicking, as we learned in episode 2, which was fucking awesome. Shout out to the arm break. It's like, oh, I see you there. I see you're back. And Fisk allegedly trying to go straight. Now, I'm with Murdoch on this one. I was raised Catholic too. If this dude says he's, if he's trying to cut a new path for himself, I believe in grace. Maybe he could, maybe he can't. But this is the exact conversation I know that clown on Twitter was complaining about the whole feelings in the diner. I'm like, did you miss any of the subtext here? Because it wasn't particularly clever. It was almost on the nose that they were like, all right, well, if you come after me as a vigilante, I'm going to mess up your entire world. It was kind of on the nose, but it was still great because these actors elevate and they sell materials. Like you're always talking about in wrestling. It's like, it's the sell. Right. But we were talking about sound design, and I wanted to see if you picked up on this. It would actually set up this meeting in the coffee shop where Fisk is coming out of, I think, his campaign headquarters, and there's a big buzzing crowd, reporters, people on the streets. He's got his guys walking out in front of him, and everything's loud and jarring and chaotic. And then you see his guy disappear out in front of him, and he says, "Sir, you got to step back." And then the sound just drops to fucking nothing. And when they cut shot to what he's looking at, it's just Matt Murdock standing by himself, like squared up completely. And I was like, that's pretty damn clever use of sound right there. It's the opposite of a jump scare with like the ba-bum.
Yeah. Sound is so important in any type of film.
Sure.
And I always said this, is that people will forgive bad video. People will never forgive bad sound. I mean, just look at Tenet with the bad sound. It was the number one complaint about it.
Still hasn't lived it down.
And the way the sound is mixed and it really puts you into the environment. And like music adds to the sound. Like music's supposed to tell you how you're supposed to feel in a certain moment. That's how they use it strategically. By the way, the music at the end of episode 2, spot on for what happened. I had episode 1 as a nailed down great choice as well, but you're right. They both are. I actually had a note on my entry when I was like, it seems like maybe this show got the hint that we mocked like the Acolyte for having the stupid pop R&B thing that was completely out of place and the lyrics didn't reflect at all, for being tonally inconsistent with Star Wars as it was. Like the lyrics didn't line up with that show. I thought both of the selections here were like, all right, we're starting to bang here. This show's not here to mess around. I'm getting Penguin vibes from this show already for me. I'll say it. I'll say it, 20 minutes into our chat. I think this is going to be slapping. But the sound design, like you said, it's key, and it's very creatively used here too because of who our main character is. So we get a lot of emphasis on heartbeats because he's basically a human lie detector. We see this skill deployed all the time, across the Daredevil medium. We know when he's following people,
he's listening to their footsteps. He can track them. When he's talking to Kingpin in the diner, he's like, your step's different. You've lost weight and put on muscle. So we know that it's not just he can hear the footstep tap, tap, tap. He's hearing it on a level that you never could. And I think that's such awesome character design and sound design.
Yeah, and they use it a few times in both these episodes of him using his hearing. I mean, that's what kicked off pretty much the tension of that opening scene was him listening to Foggy's phone call.
Yep.
So
it plays over a bunch. It plays over when he takes the legal case that he's that's kind of, I guess this will probably be the crux of the case for the season. I don't think this is going to be a procedural like week to week, where he basically goes to Hector Ayala's aid because he can hear him taking an ass kicking in a holding cell or in a waiting room at the police department. So we know he can already hear that. Dude, I'm telling you, dude, I know it's setting a high bar. Dude, it might not win anybody an Oscar nom, but that remains to be seen. That legit remains to be seen. Dude, Charlie Cox right now, from what I've seen out of him as Daredevil, is a better actor than anybody I've seen in any of the MCU shows. What I've seen them do, some of them have won awards for other crap. Brie Larson won an award for other crap. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. So far, I've seen this dude emote from bawling my eyes out after a brutal fight because I lost one of my best friends and like screaming in abject terror and rage after throwing a double beat down at the end of episode 2. So the dude's got range, and none of it looks fake. None of it looks phoned in to me. If you wanted to comment on just that one performance, that one aspect.
No, I have no problem with what Charlie Cox is doing on screen. He play, like, you did see the restraint on his face when he's trying not to do something. You can tell when he's uncomfortable, but you can also see, like, as someone who's playing a blind man, he has that intimidation factor when you usually don't have that from someone who's blind, who has a disability like that.
Yep.
You don't get an intimidation factor from, because usually they're more passive. Passive. They
sure.
like they
No
know that they have their
disrespect,
disability. They kind of just go with the flow. And he has more of that, like, I'm going to be up in your face. This isn't going to hold me back. And no one knows why he has that. I mean, he does have the special powers, but I think even if he didn't have the special powers,
that's who he is.
That's who he is. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how Jack taught him, his dad. We definitely see exactly what you're talking about in episode 2, where that one scumbag like shoulder bumps him and he's like, move, but then like he can't move him. I'm like, dumbass, here it comes. We'll get to that when we get to that, though. I had one other kind of technical thing, because these are usually the cues that you pick up on. So I hope you got some insight into this, or just some point of discussion. We talked sound design, but I thought there was some pretty good costuming? Is it called costume design? Like the selections that are made seemed intentional to me. Maybe I'm reading into it too much, but it occurs to me that both of these guys, in trying to not be who they used to be, both picked the wrong costume, right? Like Matt Murdock picked the lawyers, he picked the suit, right? Kingpin at the beginning of episode 1 hovers his hand over the white suit, but then picks a black suit. So he picks something very different. But then at the end of the episode, as both of these guys realize who they really are, we get the Kingpin looking down, and there's white light flashing in his face. And Matt Murdock's looking up, and there's blood red light flashing in his face. And I'm like, oh, shit. This is about to pop off like the Godfather. Here it comes.
Yeah, it's
intentional.
It's a story of these two men who've gone head to head, now trying to fight their inner demons, and then probably they're both going to revert back. Or
I'm going to be pissed.
If it's the story that I've heard, like, there's rumors out there of what's going on, is that these two are actually going to team up to make New York a better city. So there's that too. We're
going to need a common enemy to appear. So that,
yes, and that's been hinted at already.
Because they already did the hand, right?
It's not the hand. If you watch the end of episode 1, it hinted at who the new bad guys are going to be.
Did it?
Yeah.
What did I miss? Yeah, do the spoilers again.
Yeah. Well, we already put the warning up. If you don't know by now.
That was more for me.
the guy who was drawing the mural of Kingpin.
Oh, I thought he was just drawing it. That wasn't just a picture of the Kingpin?
No, that's the Muse.
Oh, okay. All right. I know the name. All right. Good. Then that should be again, this is interesting ground, because if they're taking the show in a different direction where it's going to put these two guys that are complete opposites on a path that need to work together for the greater good of the city that they both claim they like, or that they both claim they love, we need that, because I don't think I could buy another show. Hey, Lady J, you can correct me. I'm here.
Jay, it's Lady J.
Lady J, hello. Two very different guys that are going to have to hash out these details. It's going to be almost like when Murdoch was dealing with the Punisher, and you got those two different meta looks at life, those meta philosophical looks at how they're going to handle things.
Yeah,
you know, Daredevil's always going to probably want to go right up to the line like modern Batman, but Kingpin going to be like, we're going to have to throw this dude off a building. You know what I mean? Like, because the city comes first. So I'm with that if that's the story as they want to take it. So I just thought that was a cool bit of we've talked costumes and lighting and sound tricks, and those usually aren't the things that jump out at me, because I'm usually so annoyed by the garbage on the page that I don't care that they very cleverly had like red light flashing on Matt Murdock. It's almost like a warning light almost for him, but it's also, you know, obviously it's his color.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting series. I'm getting that vibe already. The first two episodes, going in the second episode, they introduced one of the other vigilantes. You get a quick look at him in the bar scene at the very opening. They had him on the newscast. Yep. But then he goes in to save someone. An accident happens, and a cop dies. He gets arrested, but he's not in suit, and he doesn't have his magic amulet that gives him extra powers. We're of course talking about white tigers in this series, and he's automatically going to be one of the people that Matt's going to be protecting in court. So kind of like the same thing he did for Punisher in season 2, he's going to be doing for White Tiger in this one. And at the beginning of season 2, you see that they did a nice little memorial for the actor who plays White Tiger. He passed away in 2022. So rest in peace. And so far your acting has been outstanding in your last project here.
But let's talk about that. Let's talk about those kind of, I don't want to call them B tiers, because I mean they're all important in the show, but I mean, they're the supporting cast, right? We can talk about Hector Ayala, White Tiger. We can talk about Matt's pending girlfriend, the therapist, who has some awesome conflict stuff that's going to come up with her, and that's where I'm kind of segue what we're talking about right now. Hector Ayala and his wife are an interesting pair, because they're estranged because of his superhero activities that she doesn't know, or we think that she doesn't know about. She may not. I'm guessing she might not, right? And he needs her to appear in court as, like, you know, because that's what you do. Like when you're on trial, you have your family show up to humanize you and let people know, you know, like I'm not.
It's a jury trick. It's to humanize you in front of the jury.
Right. So they've layered a little bit of tension and conflict there, and it's not just throwaway, because when Matt's partner and Cherry go to visit her, they're asking her to come in and do the thing and make an appearance, and they say, you know, Hector needs you, or Hector wants you, and then she says something back like, you know, does he want me, or does he just need me to be there? You know, so there's obviously something's icy there, and then of course we get like the Michelin 5-star meal conflict that's coming up, where we get a character introduced to Matt via the mutual friend, his law partner, a therapist. They meet. They have a pretty funny, I think the Zoomers are calling it the meet cute. Maybe maybe they don't say that anymore. It's kind of cringe, but it's kind of funny, like authentically funny. Where Matt's partner sends him to meet a client who needs legal representation, but the client is also her girlfriend from college, and she sent her to meet Matt because she told her that Matt needed a therapist.
Yeah.
So they have to play out that kind of back and forth, which was kind of funny. And then they end up hitting it off, of course, because, you know, Charlie Cox is a good-looking guy and he's kind of charming, or not. Son of a bitch, lucky guy. But so it ends up being that this is a fairly well-known therapist. She's got a book tour on the show. She's doing a signing. One of the Kingpin's guys gets a book, has her sign it. And then, of course, at the end of episode 2, thereabouts, Kingpin and his wife are sitting down on the couch at the therapist's office. So it's just loaded, dude. It's just loaded with interesting shit. And none of it so far feels like point A to B to C to D to E. Like, you know?
Yeah. It's a compelling story where you're having everybody get wrapped up into it. So like the therapist is not just the love interest. Like she has something that's trying to play into it.
She's got a point.
Yeah. And then you have Vanessa, who been running the Kingpin's empire while he's been recovering from getting shot in the face.
Okay, no, we got to talk about that. That's the only thing I did not like about this show so far, is they fucking referenced Echo. They didn't reference her by name.
No, he just said mentored her.
And I hated it. I hated it. I was like, dude, you could have just said I got shot and I was out of the game. You didn't need to reference specifically who did it.
Well, see, Daredevil brought it up. It's like, he said, I tried to mentor someone because they asked about kids. And he was like, didn't she shoot you in the face?
This generation. Yeah. I know. I'm just saying. It annoyed me to no end just to even hear it brought up, because it immediately disengaged me for that split second from something I was tacitly and completely 100% enjoying. And I was like, oh, dude, come on. It'd be like when we're watching Andor next month and somebody slips in if only there was a Jedi around that used to study under a Skywalker or some, you know what I mean? Like if they did some bullshit like that, it'd be like, come on, you guys are doing so good. There's no need to get into that here. But yeah, so, and it's not even that, speaking of Vanessa, his wife, Kingpin's wife, she wasn't just like standing in. The company grew and did better.
And made it bulletproof, like she said.
Right. So it's made more money and been effective when he was away. So that's like another little bit of like conflict that's been lured in. And they didn't make a big deal out of it yet. It made sense where it was inserted. You know, they also very cleverly indicated what each of the person's goals from therapy were, if you caught that. You know, where he's like, don't want to lose my wife. And she's like, not sure.
Couldn't be more different. Back, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Right.
I'm like, oh, okay. So this is a one session kind of deal because we're just getting divorced tomorrow, right? Because that's how that reads. But, you know, but it's, there's no waste in, and again, dude, I hate beating the drum, but I'm going to do it. This is how you write the show to make it feel like it doesn't have filler. You have to sit down and make well-intentioned, purposeful decisions in your writing. You can't send me off on a side quest or a fetch quest every 15 seconds. Like, there's not a whole lot in either of these episodes that I feel like they could have excised out and just thrown away. Like, I thought it was fairly trim for, 51 minutes and an hour and one or whatever the times were. You know, and if you did cut stuff out, you're losing some of that charm in the connective tissue, which you do need. You're not supposed to be completely absent that.
Yeah, like if you cut out anything with him being mayor, you're going to cut out some of the stories that need to be told, especially like the conflict that's going to be coming up with him and the police commissioner at the end of episode, or about the middle of episode 2. And then, so they needed that part where it's like you're going to go see the fire commissioner and you're going to give him this, this award type thing,
right?
But then you had the scene where like they're going to it and there's because she's talking about optics and there's a hole in the middle of the road. So he just gets out and he's like foreman, and they're like, hey, Mr. Mayor, what you doing? He's like, let's fill this hole. He's like, I'm waiting on permits. He's like, consider them approved, get it done.
And then the foreman, though, to the credit, and I'm like, this is the shit I like. I just like when like it's got to mimic real life to a degree, but then it has to be superhero fantastical. Like the foreman's like, cool, the mayor said let's go, and then he goes, all right boys, move, haul now, and like they move. You know, like it doesn't need to be 3 to 6 business weeks in a peer review. It like, no, just make shit happen. That's what real people want. Make shit happen. So
and that's exactly what he said. And then they had the little like the TikTok style like phone video where he's like, I promise to get things done. I can't do his voice.
I said I'd get shit. I can't do it either. I'm too sick. I said I'd get it done. And this is me getting it done. I'll need some work.
Yeah, it was something like that too.
Yeah. We don't do impressions on this channel. Anybody in chat. Sorry. I mean, I try. I got a couple, but I'm not breaking them out when I got a sore throat. It's not good. But like that was another, but again, not a wasted scene, because like when they set up that scene, it just looks like some traffic bullshit, because you get a top down, it's a giant fucking hole. Like it's huge.
Yeah.
You got 6 lanes of traffic funneling into one. And anybody that's ever tried to do that anywhere knows exactly how infuriating that experience is. We all know.
And it's probably 10 times worse as it's New York.
Hell yeah. That's what I'm saying. But they use that point to support the earlier scene to propel plot forward, because the earlier scene was the discussion with the mayor's team in his office about he wants to put off all the meet and greets. And his top advisor's like, it's not good for the optics if you're bailing on people in the first 100 days. The first 100 days are about settling in. I know you want to get going and doing all your cool shit, but like, you got to play the game to play the game. Yeah. So we see his development. He's learning. He's not an idiot. He's like, cool, we can do that. Optics, cool. This is a problem I can fix now because I already saw the crew. That's the thing. It's not like he had to Deus Ex a repair team airdropped onto the hole. Like, no, these dudes were over there being typical city workers, just kind of hanging out. And it was 9 guys on the job waiting for the permit. And he was like, nah, break time's over. Fill this shit. You know what I mean? So there wasn't anything. It wasn't too big of an ask for the story, so it worked.
Yeah,
you know, and that's what I think this show has a bunch of things going for it like that. And that's going to be the important stuff, especially on the Kingpin side, because that's all the city politics side. Like, if you want to talk about the police commissioner at the funeral scene, take that away, because that's another good one, because that's another character that doesn't like him, thinks he's got some power over him for a minute. And
I liked his excuses. He came out first and he's like, oh, very classy of you to show up late to a funeral. And he was like, I didn't want to. Yeah, for a cop
funeral, right?
Yeah, and he's like, I didn't want to show up early and like distract from the ceremony.
And I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of not a dick move. That's probably what you should have done.
Yeah,
you know, and it looked like he came alone without his entourage, because he got out of the car by himself. He might have had a driver, but like he didn't have like press corps with him, or the 6 people he rides with usually.
No, he was by himself, and then he starts. He's like, "You'll always be the king." He's like, you wanted a job, so you're telling me you don't go straight for a job that you have less money and less power. he's like, you'll always be a thug. I know your type. Have a good day, Kingpin.
I was like, this dude's gonna get his neck broken. It might not be today, but it's gonna happen. He's neck breaking this kid. That guy.
Well, he took him to another level where he found his secret kid.
Yep. Which was such an excellent veiled threat, because it was very Oz-like from the Penguin. I mentioned the Penguin before, where it's got this elaborate setup to punking this guy, where like he's fine. The guy comes in, he thinks he has he's going to hand in his resignation and make the power move and drop the envelope on his desk. Kingpin's got the napkin in his shirt. He's dogging down on a Philly cheesesteak. And he starts talking, where are you? You're from Philly? Oh, yeah, I love Philly cheesesteak. What's that good place? And he names the place. And he's very subtly just layering in the info that he knows.
Yeah.
And then he says, oh, yeah, it's from Angelo's or whatever. Yeah. But when he picks the wrapper up, there's a photo. And it's a photo of a kid and a woman eating at said restaurant. Now, my mind went right to Kingpin going to kill these people right now, or they're already dead. But it wasn't even that. It was the veiled threat of, like you said, just revealing that Captain Police Commissioner, American hero over here, is a scumbag and has a secret love child out there back in Philly when he's up here in New York. Yeah. You know, so I'm like, oh, snap. And then, he keeps him on the job, but it's not before he punks him. And he's like, yeah, remember all those OT requests? 0. Additional cadet spaces? None. This, like, he just basically cut him right off at the knees. It's like, oh, and you'll keep your job, period, because I need you. The city needs you. And then he fucking leaves, and the Kingpin like throws the sandwich, and his fucking sandwich is terrible. I'm like,
it was disgusting. It's like, you didn't have to commit to the bit that much where you had to eat the sandwich. Come on.
Guarantee, and I'll bet you any amount of money you want to bet, that was a D'Onofrio insert, and it was fucking hysterical. There's no shot that was in the script. He was like, I'm going to seize this moment and just nail it home, keep the straight face, and he did. But I think we're going to get more scenes like that for sure. I bet there's at least, that's what I'm saying. I caught a Pape comment down there. Yep, that's such a Wilson Fisk move. The Kingpin's master manipulator. Dude, so I'm telling you, dude, got to watch the show. I think you'll enjoy it. Enjoy it.
They did a fantastic job. I will highly recommend this show to people. And that's saying a lot, because I don't do that for a lot of Disney Plus shows.
Dude, you haven't done that for any Disney Plus show. Like, as a whole, Andor
as a whole.
Skeleton, that's the caveat, as a whole, Andor, because those first couple episodes are a slog. We know that. Skeleton Crew as a whole, again, because there's a couple.
We did like it. Oh, Percy Jackson.
I liked it. Jackson's a soul. Yeah, no, I'll sell Jackson. Yeah, that's for sure. I enjoyed that. There wasn't a bad episode of that show. Kid show or not, it was an entertaining show. But the Daredevil show. Let me just circle my thoughts back around, because I had a couple of other things I wanted to hit on there, especially with the Kingpin. Another little bit of a character development that just reminded me when Pate mentioned he's a master manipulator is they've got this other supporting character. Her name's BB. She's kind of like a TikTok Zoomer. I might have to go back. I see his comment there. I might have to go back and watch Bad Batch. You don't have to point me where to start. Like if there's an arc, maybe I should sample first because I can't do like multiple seasons of a cartoon. There's BB, who's she's like a Zoomer, Gen Alpha TikTok reporter, but she's woman on the street. She's got her phone out. She's asking people, "Hey, can I ask you about Fisk? Can I ask you about crime in the city?" And again, she feels like a normal fucking person. She's not rude. She's not uppity with people. She's not overly sassy or know-it-all or anything negative. She's just a kid running a video blog, social media thing to tell the news.
And that's the thing I did like is that they used the new media type setup for someone that young trying to break into it, going off of her. I don't know if it's her uncle or her father. I can't remember, but
she said she said she was named for her uncle, and then the Kingpin was like, "Oh, I knew so and so. He was a great reporter." Yeah,
and he killed him.
Yep,
he strangled him.
Mm-hmm.
So of course I know him. It was like, it's blood's on my hands.
But I love that character, and like you said, I love the approach. I don't usually like the epistolary version of storytelling where it's like news clippings or letters home and things like that. Ben Ulrich was the
Ben Ulrich,
but I like this character. She gets her 5 minutes in the interview with Kingpin because the character that's going to get the Vic treatment from the Penguin, and that's going to happen. I'll bet you money on that too. Some sleazy campaign dude working for the Fisk.
Daniel.
He's getting Vic at the end of this show, 100%. If you guys haven't seen the Penguin, go watch it. He's getting the Vic, guaranteed. He tried to get in good with her because she's kind of attractive. And so I'll give you 5 minutes with the Fisk. You give me your number, yada, yada, yada. So anyways, she gets her 5 minutes, gets nowhere with the questioning, really. He kind of stonewalls her. But then the Kingpin, like Pape was just saying, master manipulator's like, I bet she's used to not being taken seriously. Let's use that. So at some point or another, she's going to probably dime out on that. She'll figure out something about Daredevil or something and accidentally say the wrong thing for the right reason,
That or he's going to use her to leak stuff so it gets to the younger generations. Because he was actually polling. They made a hint to have Daniel tell him how well he's polling with the younger crowd and stuff
also
like that.
That's setup and payoff, and we talk about that a lot too. But again, that's kind of some group conflict that we hadn't even hit on. Kingpin's team has very different people working on it. He's got sleazy Daniel Kidd. He's got an advisor.
He's more than just a suck up. I wouldn't say sleazy. I just say he's a suck up.
He's a maybe, but that's
sleazy political suck up.
Okay, sycophant is the word I would use if I was picking one word. Sycophant. So he's got him. He's got the woman that's probably closer to his own age. I didn't pick up on her ethnicity. She's just not white. I didn't catch her name, but she's like a campaign advisor that she's been paid to do this before. She's like, I've been doing this for decades. I think we should do this.
Yeah, you brought me in to know New York politics.
Right. And then he's got the white dude with does he have a British accent, I think? The guy that gets the book for him from Therapist Girlfriend.
Yeah, that's like just head of security, bodyguard.
Right. So he's got like three very different people, I'm saying, giving him campaign advice. And there's some rub the wrong way there too, I think, going on between them, especially between Daniel and Campaign Lady. I'm just going to call her Campaign Lady until we get her name. Maybe the Oracle could roll over and get it on her phone if she's not asleep yet. That'd be fun. But yes, there's conflict everywhere, and I think it just adds to me not being bored because I don't think I'll give it my phone check. I don't think I pulled my phone out but twice, and it's only because I got alerts for something I was waiting for, from Amazon or something, like something's back in stock or some bullshit, But otherwise, I'm not scrolling, I'm not checking any of the socials, I'm not coming back on our channel to check views and subs and all the other boring, lame stuff you do when your TV stuff sucks, So it kept me engaged. And one of the things I forgot to even mention is through 2 episodes, there's only 2 fights. Well, 3 if you count the Hector Ayala one. Like Daredevil only fights twice. And it's like, so this show is delivering because you're entertained and you're compelled to watch the drama and the conflict that's going on in between the hand throw.
Yep.
So
they don't need this, but they don't need the spectacular to keep your attention.
Right. It's like we were saying last week in the standalone. The show probably wouldn't be any good if it tried to be excuse me, guys. if it tried to be the Punisher, and even the Punisher wasn't the Punisher 24/7 through 10 episodes and 2 seasons. You got to slow down at some point. You can't machine gun every problem in front of you. So this show doesn't work if it's Daredevil in the suit 1,000% of the time. It's why every Superman show that's ever come out doesn't have him in the suit all the time. Superman, not an interesting character. Clark Kent, pretty fucking interesting. You know?
You can't.
Same thing with this guy.
It's like the rules of magic from our good friend Brandon Sanderson. Magic cannot fix all your problems all the time.
Then 100%. 100%. At some point or another, you have to creatively problem solve around or through an obstacle, and you have to be able to lean on the character relationships and dynamics that you've written up. And if you haven't done your homework for that, you get the Marvels, you get She-Hulk, you get, I'm going to put Hawkeye in there. I know you like the show, but I'm still going to put it in there. You get the garbage that gets roasted. Like, somebody point me in the direction to the hashtag or the Instagram page roasting this show. Please, somebody show me the critical video on YouTube of this show.
Well, I mean, if you want to get critical and nitpicky, I think some of the CGI of him swinging was a little off. It looked video gamey.
An older video game, I would say, not even current gen, like maybe PS4.
Yeah, I think that was a little off in it. And I think the second fight scene that we're going to talk about left some questions. I think they did that on purpose, but...
Oh, dude, like, are they dead?
Yes.
Is that the question?
Either they're dead or they have a severe TBI.
Dude, well, let's talk about this situation, right? Because we're already in spoilers and we're coming up on our hour anyway. So this probably be a good last scene to talk about. So Matt Murdock is following, because his PI found him, the only eyewitness that can basically save Hector Ayala's life. He's facing 57 consecutive life sentences.
Yeah, they got him like conspiracy to commit murder 1, manslaughter 1.
One guy died. I don't get how you get 9 levels of you.
Either it's murder 1, and if they had video, there's no way that could be murder 1. It would be murder 2 at the best. And
it's on a subway in New York, present day. Try telling me there's no footage. Please stop it. But anyway, those are the things you got to overlook. But anyway. So Murdoch finds the eyewitness through his PI guy, follows him to his place, overhears that the dirty cops that were shaking him down is basically what it's going to amount to. They were shaking this guy and his partner down, and then Hector Ayala intervened, and one of the dirty cops was accidentally killed.
Yep.
Right. So Murdoch's on scene to find this guy and be like, "Listen, we got to get you to a safe house because they're coming to kill you." Like, they're not coming to arrest you. Yeah, I know you don't know me, and I'm the lawyer for the other guy that saved your ass, and I need you to be alive, right? Yeah. They get upstairs. He talks him off the fire escape. He runs away. And then Murdoch's just chilling there holding his walking stick with a smile when the cops come through the door. And it's Dirty Cop and new Dirty Cop. Yeah. Because obviously previous Dirty Cop is red mist all over a train somewhere.
Yeah, and what's cool about this is like how he tracked him. Because when they're in the courtroom doing the arraignment, he heard the guy talk. That's the guy who killed my partner. Yep. And then he followed him using his footsteps to his house, heard him take a phone call after he talks to his soon-to-be girlfriend. What's her name in this? Was it Heather.
Kimberly? Heather
Glenn. That's right. So she says that she has something else. Can they do a rain check? And that's where she has her meeting with the kingpin that we already talked about. So he's like, yeah, that's fine. And then he heard that where they were going based on the phone call. So he hurries up and gets there before them. So, I mean, like how he did it, it was actually really cool. Like how he got there beforehand.
And he almost got hit by a car while doing it because he was so zeroed in on that dude's footsteps that when a cab stopped short to pick somebody up, he's almost walking off the curb. He's like, the cab ran the walk, don't walk thing.
Yeah.
You know, because they all make that in cities now, they all make that tone, like that buzzing tone for the vision impaired. But anyway, so Murdoch gets up. What was that?
It goes wait.
Oh yeah. Wait. Mine don't talk around here. Mine buzz.
Mine talks down here.
And then they buzz faster or some shit, and that means go. I don't know. But so Matt gets this guy out to safety. The cops come in. They try the shakedown move on him, like we were talking about earlier, where the cops like move, and Murdoch just stands there and absorbs the shoulder bump. He does take an ass kicking, which he's going to take an ass kicking if he's trying not to be, Daredevil in that situation. But
knowing this guy is a cop, this guy's a lawyer representing someone Who
in a criminal case involving him,
yeah,
in a murder case involving him, right? But this stupid son of a bitch pulls his, like, he tells his partner to kill him. And the partner's the one that's like, I don't know, bro, he's a lawyer. Maybe we shouldn't do that shit. Doesn't seem like it saved him at all, though, because when Dippy Doo Cop number 1 pulls the gun, when he thumbs back the hammer, Matt Murdock becomes the Daredevil on that ass, and here we go, buckle up. Because he savages these two clowns. Yeah. Savages is the only word I have.
And if they are dead, he needs to clean the scene. Is one of the things that he had the blood come from his nose, so his DNA's at the scene.
Yeah, it dripped. That's right. It hit the floor.
Yeah.
But dude, I watched that fight scene a couple of times, and I'm like, all right, the first dude, he gets slung around, he gets whipped up on, and then he literally gets his face banged off a table. It leaves blood on the table, and he goes down and does not move again. Yeah. Right. And then the second guy, they get into the kung fu fisticuffs thing. Matt smashes his face into a refrigerator twice, and then face tackles him into the floor in a way that, like, his face breaks his fall at like a 40-degree angle.
And the sound in it, like you just heard crunch after crunch.
Imagine
after
snapping
crunch.
some celery, bitches. 'Cause that's what it sounded like. It was like snapping a bunch of celery, and they're just done, fucking done. No movement, no. No pulse check. Like, no, he gives you the Daredevil rage scream.
Well, he gets up, he puts his glasses back on.
His broken glasses.
Which are broken. And then he just screamed, just like, I didn't want to do this.
Yeah. It keeps dragging me back in,
Did you catch the Easter egg in that scene?
What did I miss? I watched it twice, but I was really just focusing on the fight choreography. So maybe I missed something we were talking about.
When the cops ask him where did he go, and he slams him up, his sleeve slide up.
Oh, yeah, dude, yes.
And you have that tattoo where it's of the Punisher. But the thing is, it's different because he's not part of a Punisher cult. There's an anti-vigilante task force who got the same Punisher tattoos on them to take out the vigilantes, and they believe that these are the first set of guys that are trying to bring down the vigilantes for the new Fist regime.
I was going to ask you about the tap because it looked like it was the skull with something on the forehead. I couldn't tell if they were letters, numbers, if it was just another design scratched across the board.
There was a few different theories. And one thought it was the Punisher cult where they believe that, punishment over justice, take matter into your own hands, or was it the anti-vigilante task force? And a lot of people are leaning towards the anti-vigilante.
I can see that happening because we've heard in the promo material where Kingpin's he's addressing New York, and he's basically saying, this is your city, and we're not going to let a bunch of vigilantes in stupid costumes dressed like a spider or shooting guns with a stupid skull on their shirt. Like, he specifically references Daredevil, Punisher, and Spider-Man, which is fucking awesome. Bullseye I don't think it was a Bullseye, and they've already used that character and locked him up.
Yeah, he's in the raft now.
So he is done as far as we can consider for the show, I would think. The Kingpin basically puts vigilantes on blast, and we already know that the sentiment in the city is mixed on it because BB doing her BB report on the street stuff gets two different sides of people, where a lot of people are like, dude, I'm scared to go out with my family. Daredevil's been gone for a long minute. Like, we need people out here looking out for us. There's a lot of people supported White Tiger for what he was doing. And even White Tiger was like, listen, I'm out here putting my ass on the line every night for people because somebody has to. They need a hero. So it's setting up. They're doing the whole Batman Bruce Wayne thing from like Batman Forever, like or Spider-Man 2. Like, you have to choose like which person you are, and it's difficult to be both. But that's like what most good heroes try to do. So I think it's interesting that they're incorporating. It looks like they're biting off a lot to cover. But dude, if it's 8 episodes and they're all an hour, you can do that.
First one was an hour and 1 minute. The second one was 49 minutes.
And we can talk a little bit more about that too. You know what else this show doesn't have? It doesn't have 9 minutes of credits. It doesn't have a 9-minute recap of the previous episode and then 3 minutes of credits cutting into its time. It does like the Marvel cold open. It does the Marvel logo, a cold open, then the show credits, and that's like 40 seconds. And then it's boom, story time, bro. Like, let's get it done.
And speaking about the intro, like, I love the original Netflix intro. I put in my top 5 of intros when we did this back when we were doing what was our old show called? I don't even remember anymore.
We've had like 4 of them do this. This is the best one so far. The FrostCast is by far the jam.
Yeah. So I did the top 5 intros for shows, and Daredevil was my number 1. And like, I love how they paid homage to that one with this new one of like rising from the ashes and being built back as Daredevil. So hats off to the intro After Effects crew that built that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. It just seems like everything they've done so far, we say this too much. It really feels like they've cleaned house and flushed all the dead weight that might have offered up stupid or subpar or just interested in cashing a paycheck kind of minded folks, because the intro hits, the sound and style design, like that, they all hit. The actors are all turning in solid character performances. Like even the guy that plays the PI feels like an old retired New York cop PI. Matt's new partner, Kirsten, who used to be a lawyer with the DA's office, just feels like a person. She doesn't feel like a character of something else. They just feel like people. You know, even the other superhero on the show, Hector Ayala, just feels like a dude. You know, there's no mustache twirling. Even the Kingpin, who's basically a mustache twirling kind of guy. You know, like he looks like he would be that, but he's obviously smart and not one-dimensional. But like, he hits, his gang hits, like or Vanessa's gang, technically, I guess. Like they have their little dispute around the table that she has to clear up.
Children fighting over pennies when you didn't all make millions.
But she had that shit sorted. She was like, nah, there's no tax for coming over, whatever. You know that. And other dickhead, you don't have to insult anybody sitting at this table ever again. And they're both like, understood. We're good. We know who works for who. It reminded me of again of the Penguin when why don't I remember her name? Kirsten Merlotti, her character. She became Sophia.
Yeah, Sophia.
She has all her father's old, lieutenants at her house at the mansion. They're all over there. She dumps the money on the table, and she's like, "Then I'm running some shit," and they all know you don't fuck with Sophia Falcone. You just don't.
Yeah.
It's not like
Calante.
Gigante.
Gigante. Yeah,
like Vanessa Fisk or whatever isn't gonna pull out the dual wield micro Uzis and start spraying people. Like she's power. She's just power personified. So, I'm hyped for this show, and that's always my benchmark about how good a show is through those first. Because we always say you get 3 episodes to make us watch a show, right? You get 3 depending on your runtime and your length or whatever. So you get 2 or 3. I'm in for more because they've done a banger job through 2 episodes, and let me just say, thank fucking God, because I don't know why I carry the Disney Plus subscription between these shows, but at least with this one, I can be like, I could watch this more than once, I think, so far, because those first 15 minutes were that good. And if each next episode is 80% as good as that, it's a hit. It's a win.
Yeah,
and we have to give them the win when they actually score the win. We can't dunk on it as an MCU show for the sake of it being an MCU show, or they just default back to other bullshit.
Yep.
But also, let me ask you this before we wrap up. Let's assume this goes out like the Penguin. Decent show. Doesn't need Oscar noms or anything like that. I just mean like quality-wise for guys like us watching it, right? Stipulated to that. Does this mark the beginning of the shipwright, or are they already back on course, given what we know what might be coming next? How does this make you feel? Is this only a cautious good start, or are you like, I'll put a foot back in the pool already. I'm good. This is enough.
No, this is a cautious good start. Okay. This is what they should shoot for moving forward. This style, not stylized, but this quality type of work moving forward with their movies and their TV shows, building to the future. So yeah, this is a cautious good start. Like this is the here's your take, I'm sorry type moment.
Okay. All right, they showed up at your door. Maybe they got the boom box above their head. They're going old school. They're going like 80s style. I could see that.
With In Your Eyes playing.
Yeah, there we go. He's showing up. He means it. He's going to change this time. Dude, I hope so. I think that I'd be willing to say that like if we could take any scene from either of these 2 episodes, and if we slotted it into Daredevil seasons 1, 2, or 3, if you hadn't seen the show, you couldn't pick out the difference, because I think it's on that level. I think that they've integrated a new version of a show that's going to pick up the baton from previous seasons and run with it. And I think it'll do it effectively. But I think if you worked on another Disney Plus show, like if you worked on She-Hulk in particular, you should be fucking embarrassed. You should be. And I don't care if that sounds harsh. You should be embarrassed because you've now seen what a show can do. And it's going to be even better when we get numbers on budget for this too, right? It's like, guarantee you this didn't have the budget the Acolyte had. I guarantee you this didn't have the budget She-Hulk had, or Ahsoka, or Obi-Wan, or whatever. Guarantee it. They're going to have done, just like Godzilla -1, they're going to have done more with this show with less money and giving you twice the runtime. House of the Dragon's a better example. You know what I mean? Yep. Just like this feels like an HBO show. Pape cautious. It's based on another series. They need to make their own. Dude, true. But you know what? If they take those lessons they've learned and just extrapolate them out into the next piece of source, like just give the next show to this team. Like they could probably slot out Daredevil and slot in a new character and write. I don't know. Dude, pick your next favorite character. Gambit, Wolverine. I don't know. Just pick someone. Blade.
No, the X-Men won't get the individuals won't get their own show. They're going to say.
I'm just saying. Just to make my point. So I mean, like, if you had to pick like your next character to have a show, they should just hire these people. Not Charlie Cox. You know what I mean? Unless you needed a cameo from Daredevil. But I mean, your showrunner has a clue. He's at least smart enough to follow what worked. That's my point.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, just don't need to remake. Don't need to remake the mold. This mold works.
With this canonizing the Netflix Daredevil, what are your odds of seeing some of the other Defenders show up? Or Heroes for Hire?
Show up in this show this season?
Yes.
Slim and none. I think slim and none because they're already. We know besides the Punisher, we know he's in.
Yep.
And I think they probably know enough to keep the ensemble stuff far away while they're trying to tread water carefully. As Pape was just saying, like it's like our expectations are cautious. I think their understanding of what this show needed to be, especially since they knew they had to do it. It wasn't cheap to cut out would you say 9 fully produced episodes, like half of the show. Like, that cost them. You know. So in going back to the drawing board, I think whoever got brought in to do that plan B, like whatever show they had to pitch was probably scaled back. You know, it was probably toned down in terms of scope for that reason. So I don't think. I mean, you'll get the Punisher for sure. You'll get the new big bad, like you said, the Muse. Well, that's part of the plan. But what's the point of bringing Jessica Jones in or Luke Cage? You mentioned them. They already mentioned Echo, sort of. But she ain't going to be in the show.
And they mentioned Spider-Man, and he's not going to be in the show either.
Saying, yeah, no, I think that's. I think they're going to play this one pretty conservatively in terms of what they're going to scope out of. But yeah, dude. So what's our release schedule for this show? This is Tuesdays 9 p.m. Is the next? Okay.
And it is there. There was a false release schedule where they're going to do the 2-1-1-2 release. It is going to be the 2-1-1-1-1-1-1-1 until it's complete.
One episode a week going forward.
Yes.
Tuesday nights, 9 Eastern, Disney Plus.
That's right.
So for us then, to keep things moving along, we should probably keep our watch schedule. We'll watch it Tuesday night, and then we'll talk about it on FrostCast, but have topics on standby since we had 2 episodes to cut into them, like the setup and the technical and all that. Yeah. So we'll have a couple of topics in our regularly scheduled stuff, but we'll open probably, I would say, with Daredevil week to week to get people caught up. Cool. All right. I think that's going to do it for us. We are over on time, and my throat feels like I need a honey tea something because it's on fire. King Z, read us out. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We appreciate everybody in the chat. Pape, thank you. Lady J, nice to see you here. Welcome. Consider subscribing if you haven't. We'd love to have you back. King Z, do your thing.
Well, see ya.